It's not by chance that you're viewing this video. There's a reason you're here. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust the timing of your life and know that you're being led to where you're meant to be. As you stumble on this video, perhaps not by chance, it will serve to awaken your spirit. You may have recently noticed a profound shift, not only in your external environment, but also deep within your soul. The world around you feels different, and even more so, your inner world has begun to transform. Conversations that once captivated you no longer hold your interest. The environments you once felt comfortable in now seem too small, too limiting for who you are becoming. Old patterns and cycles are breaking down, and for the first time, you feel no urge to repair or revisit them. This is not merely a season of change, it is a season of divine alignment. Something sacred is unfolding within you. Your spirit is beginning to resonate with the frequency of your true destiny. You are not just evolving, you are aligning with the highest version of yourself, the one that God has always seen, cherished, and destined you to become. That version is now coming to life. Before we dive into these 7 powerful chapters, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, because what you're about to receive is not merely content. This message is a divine alignment intended for the chosen ones, those whose spirits are attuned to the frequency of destiny. If you feel a deep resonance with this shift, type 77 in the comments right now. Understand that this number is far more than a random figure. It is a spiritual signal, a sacred code that sends confirmation to both heaven and the universe. It signifies that your spirit is awake, aligned, and fully prepared to receive what has already been written for you. Not everyone will feel this. Only the truly chosen will resonate on this level. Those who stay until the very end will experience a profound sense of clarity, activate a deeper state of awareness, and begin to unlock the encoded blessings woven into every sentence of this divine message. This isn't something to watch just once. This is a living frequency, alive with revelation and spiritual depth. Each time you return to it, another layer is unveiled, and another key is revealed. Watch it repeatedly whenever your spirit feels drawn back to it, because with every encounter you will receive something your soul may have missed before. Let's begin this transformative journey. Chapter 1. The spiritual tuning has begun. Just as a radio, slightly off its frequency, produces nothing but static, so too does the soul experience distortion when it is not fully aligned. You may catch fleeting glimpses of the message, a note, a phrase, a sound, but it remains fractured, unclear, and often frustrating. This does not mean the station has stopped broadcasting. Rather, it signifies that you have yet to calibrate your inner receiver to the precise frequency necessary to receive it clearly. This has been the experience of your spirit for years. You have always been deeply loved by God, eternally chosen, and divinely called. Yet the connection, the signal between heaven's broadcast and your inner receiver, was not yet fully aligned. Now that alignment is beginning to take place. You were receiving fragments, moments of clarity, flashes of divine confirmation, but they would quickly fade, not because God withdrew, but because your signal was still clouded by interference. That interference came in many forms: relationships that dulled your spiritual discernment, environments that were too small, too low for your spirit to breathe freely. There were conversations that numbed your sense of purpose, and decisions that quietly delayed your divine alignment. In truth, you were trying to make your spirit thrive in atmospheres your calling had already outgrown. You were searching for peace in places that were never aligned with your purpose. You sought guidance from voices that couldn't hear God clearly themselves. But now, something has undeniably shifted. Heaven has intervened, not to entertain you, not to comfort your ego, and certainly not to affirm you through worldly validation, but to retune you for your assignment, for your destiny, for divine alignment. You may not yet have the words to fully explain what's happening within you, but you can feel it. Your soul has grown quieter, more grounded. Your spiritual ears are more sensitive to divine instruction. Your heart no longer tolerates what once seemed fulfilling. You've begun to crave spiritual depth over superficial success, and that is the sign. Alignment is underway. You've begun to notice a shift in your inner urges. Your drive is no longer rooted in hustle, but in harmony. You're less concerned with proving yourself and more focused on becoming the person you were always meant to be in Christ. God is performing a quiet internal reset. He is recalibrating your signal, clearing the static, and fine-tuning your spiritual discernment. You're no longer simply reacting to life. You're receiving divine instruction. You're not guessing. You're being guided. You're not chasing after signs. You're walking in alignment with them. With every moment of stillness, every act of obedience, and every release of what no longer resonates with your spirit, you are drawing closer and closer to the sound of heaven. You are not being overlooked. You are being fine-tuned. You are not behind. You are being sharpened and made spiritually sensitive. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared for divine clarity and purpose. You may have already begun to notice the signs. Sudden urges to distance yourself from certain people or environments, a deeper hunger for prayer, solitude, and time in the Word, an unshakable sense of urgency in your spirit, even when everything around you appears calm. There's a growing discomfort with surface-level conversations and meaningless distractions, and a deepening pull toward purpose, peace, and purity. These are not coincidences. They are signals, whispers from heaven, confirming that alignment is taking place within you. God is dialing you in. What once entertained you now grieves your spirit. What used to inspire you now sounds like noise. What once felt like enough now leaves you empty. Why? Because your frequency is rising. Your soul is aligning with your assignment. Your true identity is catching up with your divine calling. This season is not about appearing busy. It's about becoming deeply rooted. It's not about being seen by people. It's about being fully known by God. It's not about adding more to your life. It's about removing the clutter that blocks clarity. God is tuning you because He is preparing to send you. He is calibrating your spirit because the next phase of your destiny requires precision, purity, and power. In this hour, you cannot afford to be off by even 1 degree. The calling is too weighty. The mission is too great. The anointing is too costly. Chapter 2. When familiar no longer fits. The things that once fit now feel foreign. As your spiritual frequency rises, your atmosphere begins to shift, often suddenly, and usually without your consent. What once felt like a comfort zone now feels more like a cage. The conversations that once fueled you now leave you feeling drained. The people you once held close now seem distant, even if they remain physically present. You're not losing your mind, you're shedding your old identity. You're not being difficult, you're being divinely redirected. You're not ungrateful, you're being spiritually upgraded. This is not disconnection, it is transformation. What no longer fits is simply falling away to make room for what's aligned. As the frequency of your destiny increases, the environment around you is naturally forced to respond, and in most cases it cannot come with you. The frequency you are stepping into demands cleaner air, a purer sound, and a higher atmosphere, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. This is why you're feeling a deep inner conflict. It's not mere discomfort, it's divine disconnection. It's not just mood swings, it's your spirit undergoing a detox from everything that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. What you're experiencing is known as spiritual dissonance, the tension that occurs when your soul begins to reject what it once tolerated in order to rise into what it was always destined to carry. This shift occurs when your internal growth begins to outpace your external environment. It's when your spirit is rising, but your surroundings remain unchanged. It's when God is elevating your mindset, yet those around you are still entangled in cycles you've already broken free from. This is not a breakdown, it's a breakout. You are expanding beyond what you've outgrown. The garments of your old life, old thoughts, old desires, old habits, and old relationships no longer fit the frame of your purpose. They are too tight for your calling, too small for your vision, and far too shallow for the depth you now carry. And though it may feel unfamiliar, perhaps even painful, to release what once brought you comfort, understand this transformation comes with a costume. You cannot rise while remaining in environments built for your former self. You cannot soar while dragging anchors from your past. So when you begin to feel disconnected from the things you once enjoyed, when laughter no longer follows the same old jokes, When the rooms you once fought to enter now feel suffocating, that's not rebellion, that's realignment. You are not being pushed aside, you are being set apart. You are not being left behind, you are being called higher. God is stretching you beyond the familiar, so He can position you in the fruitful. Here's the truth. You were never meant to remain in the shallow end when you're being prepared for deep waters. You're not called to blend into the crowd when your destiny is to lead nations. And you're certainly not meant to stay connected to anything or anyone that delays your purpose simply because it feels familiar or comfortable. This shift reveals itself in very specific ways. You may find that certain people's energy now unsettles your spirit, even if they haven't done anything outwardly wrong. Environments that once felt like safe spaces now carry a sense of spiritual dissonance. The entertainment, music, or habits that once brought relaxation now feel like noise, distractions from something deeper. And you're craving solitude, not because you're withdrawing or becoming antisocial, but because God is speaking and your spirit is finally quiet enough to listen. This is a divine separation, not because you are better than others, but because you are being built for something greater. Not because others are evil, but because the assignment on your life demands a higher standard. So stop trying to force what no longer fits. Don't shrink yourself to remain in places God is calling you out of. Don't waste energy convincing people to walk with you when your elevation exposes their stagnation. Release it. Let it fall away. Let it pass through. Because where God is taking you, your spirit must travel light. No baggage, no bondage, no compromise. Chapter 3. When divine timing begins to make sense. There was a time when divine timing felt like delay. You often wondered why everything seemed to take so long, why doors didn't open, even when you knocked in faith, why the opportunity slipped away just when you were sure it was yours, why others appeared to advance while you remained in waiting rooms filled with silence, confusion, and frustration. There were seasons when you felt forgotten, overlooked, even rejected by God. You prayed with sincerity, fasted with discipline, sowed with faith, obeyed with consistency, yet nothing seemed to move. It felt like you were doing everything right and still being held back. And if you're honest, there were moments when you quietly questioned whether the promise would ever come to pass. Doubt crept in, hope dimmed. But now, something in your spirit has shifted. You're beginning to understand the delay for what it truly was. You're no longer viewing your journey through the lens of impatience, but through the eyes of divine wisdom. God never forgot you. He didn't withhold the promise. He didn't revoke the vision He whispered to you in the secret place. He was protecting you, guarding you from stepping into something that your character, your spirit, or your emotional maturity wasn't yet prepared to sustain. The delay was not denial, it was development. You weren't being punished, you were being preserved. You weren't forgotten, you were being formed. God had to align the promise with your spiritual maturity so that when it arrived, it wouldn't overwhelm you, it would establish you. Sometimes it's not about the door being closed, it's about you not yet being built enough to walk through it. God wasn't just preparing the blessing for you, He was preparing you for the blessing. Because to carry what you're called to carry, your inner life must match your outer calling. Now that your spirit is synchronizing with the frequency of destiny, everything is starting to make sense. The people who walked away? You now understand they couldn't walk with the version of you that God was developing. The job you didn't get? You see now it would have locked you into a life that looked stable on the outside, but would have drained you spiritually. The platform that overlooked you? It's clear now. God didn't want your voice entangled in a system that would have silenced your soul. Everything that didn't work out was actually leading you toward everything that is working now. What once felt like rejection was really redirection. And what once felt like loss was protection for your purpose. Everything that fell apart was simply clearing the path, removing what had no place in your next chapter. Everything that felt like loss was actually alignment in disguise. And now, what once passed you by is beginning to return. But not because you chased it, because you became the version of yourself that naturally attracts what has always been yours. The blessing recognizes you now, The opportunity that once ignored you now honors the oil on your life. The right doors aren't just opening, they are being held open by the very hand of God. This is the hour where divine timing becomes divine fulfillment. You are no longer waiting from a place of fear. You are walking in faith. You're no longer wondering if it will happen. You're aligning with the truth that it already is. You're no longer striving to make it happen by your own strength. You are moving in rhythm with heaven, confident that what's meant for you cannot miss you. There is a holy confidence rising within you now, not arrogance, not striving, but a quiet, unshakable knowing that everything is unfolding in perfect timing, that nothing was wasted, not a single tear, not a single delay, not one closed door. Every moment was part of a divine setup. And now that your spirit is in sync with heaven's rhythm, the promise doesn't just seem possible. It feels familiar. You recognize it. You're ready for it. And more importantly, it recognizes you. This is your confirmation. This is your confirmation. The wait was not in vain. The delay was divine. And the time is now. Chapter 4. Your voice now carries a different power. When your spirit begins to align with the frequency of destiny, everything about you begins to shift. And one of the first and most powerful changes is your voice. Your voice is no longer just sound, it becomes spirit. It no longer rises from a place of survival. It flows from a place of divine clarity and authority. You're no longer speaking from pain, you're speaking from purpose. You're not venting wounds, you're releasing wisdom. You're not seeking attention, you're carrying alignment. What once felt like noise is now a resonance that moves atmospheres. Your words don't just communicate, they consecrate. People hear you differently now, even if you're saying the same words. Why? Because the source behind your voice has changed. The weight behind your words has matured. You no longer have to force your voice into rooms where it doesn't belong. You no longer beg to be heard. You're not chasing microphones, stages, or audiences. Instead, your words are finding their way, divinely directed, into the hearts of those who are meant to receive them. Not because of volume, but because of vibration. Not because of charisma, but because of consecration. This shift didn't happen overnight. It was forged in the fire of secret suffering. It was born through spiritual discipline, through long nights of silence, through whispered prayers, through quiet obedience when no one was watching. It came through moments when you had every reason to retaliate, but instead, you chose to respond with peace. It came through trials that purified your tone, stripping away ego, pride, bitterness, and fear. You've been through the fire and now your voice carries the flame. Your speech is no longer performance. It flows from the oil produced in private, oil that cannot be faked, imitated, or replaced. People may not always understand it, but they feel it. They sense the weight in your words because your spirit carries revelation. Even your silence has changed. You no longer speak on everything. You don't argue to prove your point. You've stopped chasing validation through debate or applause, because now you know, when your voice is rooted in heaven, it never needs to fight for relevance. You've come to understand that wisdom often speaks loudest through stillness, and now your silence makes noise in the spirit. There is a calm authority that rests upon you, the kind that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word, the kind that redirects conversations, dissolves confusion, and awakens dormant spirits, not through effort, but through alignment. Because you are no longer just speaking for yourself, your voice has become an instrument of heaven. God is using it to plant seeds, tear down strongholds, unlock minds, and heal hearts. What once came from emotion now flows from anointing. What once sought to be heard now exists to reveal truth. Not because you're trying to sound deep, but because you've surrendered to something deeper. This is why you've endured so much. This is why you were hidden for a season. This is why God wouldn't let you speak prematurely. Because your voice was never meant to entertain. It was designed to pierce, to deliver, to awaken, to destroy yokes in the unseen realm. People may admire the sound, but they cannot see the sacrifice. They don't know the spiritual price you paid to carry this kind of resonance. They don't see the tears, the warfare, the rejection, the quiet obedience, or the crushing that shape your tone, you're not speaking from a platform. You're speaking from a place of surrender. But God knows, and now He's entrusting you to speak, not just to be heard, but to heal, not just to teach, but to transform, not merely to inform, but to activate destiny. So when you speak now, you're not just using words, you're releasing a frequency. You're sending out sound waves that shake atmospheres, shift mindsets, and realign destinies. Your voice carries vibrations in the spirit realm, vibrations that demons recognize and heaven affirms. This is more than speech, it's spiritual transmission, a divine echo of obedience, oil, and authority. Chapter 5. Heaven is responding faster. Have you noticed it? Heaven is responding to you more quickly now. Things are shifting with greater speed than ever before. The moment you lift your voice in prayer, answers begin to unfold. With even the smallest act of obedience, doors that were once tightly shut now open effortlessly. When you speak life into a situation, movement begins immediately. This isn't your imagination, it's real. It's happening because your spirit has come into alignment with the frequency of heaven. This is what it means to walk in spiritual synchronization. You're no longer coming to prayer from a place of need. You come with expectation. You're not forcing outcomes. You're moving in step with divine harmony. Heaven now resonates with your frequency because your inner life has matched your spiritual authority. What once required years now unfolds in months. What once took months now manifests in days. This acceleration isn't the result of shortcuts. It's the fruit of a transformed posture. Your obedience has deepened. Your faith has expanded. Your heart has been refined. Your actions are now sync-aligned with divine timing, and God can trust you to respond when He speaks. You have stepped into a flow, not one of chaos but of clarity, not one of confusion but of confirmation, not one of striving but of supernatural supply. You are beginning to understand that when you align yourself with God's instruction, things begin to move swiftly, not because of chance or luck, but because you are rightly positioned. You are no longer seeking blessings outside of your appointed season, nor are you praying for things that would serve as distractions from your divine assignment. You are not operating out of fear, nor are you driven by the need to prove anything to anyone. Instead, you are moving with wisdom, walking in silence, and remaining in alignment with God's will. As a result, you no longer feel compelled to explain or convince others of what God is doing in your life. That is why you are no longer burdened with stress about how things will unfold, nor are you wasting valuable energy pursuing opportunities or knocking on doors that God never intended for you to approach. Now, doors are opening precisely at the moment of your arrival, not a second too early and not a moment too late. This is because you are no longer simply functioning within your season. You are operating within your divine signal. You are fully attuned to the rhythm and flow of heaven. Your timing is divinely orchestrated, your presence carries prophetic authority, and your movement draws miracles with magnetic power. The spiritual delays you once encountered were never due to God's lack of attention. Rather, they were the result of your signal not yet being in alignment with His purpose. Your heart, once cluttered and burdened with mixed motives, and your vision, once clouded and foggy, have now been purified and sharpened. Your signal is now clear, your intentions are pure, and your focus is unwavering. You are no longer praying with mere words, but with undeniable power, and you are no longer walking by hope alone, but with holy precision and divine purpose. This transformation is precisely why heaven is responding with increasing speed. Confirmations are arriving promptly, and why people are suddenly being divinely sent to bless you, support you, and connect with your purpose. It is also why opportunities are appearing effortlessly without the need for you to chase after them. Chapter 6. Your enemies can feel the shift too. Let us be clear, the spiritual realm is fully aware of what is unfolding in your life at this very moment. What you are only beginning to comprehend about your own transformation, heaven has already seen, and so has hell. Just as the angels have taken notice of your alignment, your obedience, and the elevation of your spiritual frequency, so too have the forces of darkness. If you have been wondering why, in recent days, there seems to be a noticeable increase in spiritual warfare, why you are facing strange, unexplained attacks, sudden emotional waves, unexpected tension, miscommunication, people behaving out of character, opportunities slipping away at the last second, or things breaking down that once functioned smoothly, understand this: you are not cursed, and you are certainly not off track. You are under spiritual surveillance because you are finally walking in true alignment, not as a form of punishment, but as undeniable proof. It is proof that your spirit is synchronizing with your destiny, that the power within you is being activated, and that you are now operating in realms that pose a legitimate threat to the systems of darkness. Demons do not waste their efforts on empty vessels, nor do they target those who are simply going in circles, living distracted lives, or compromising their calling. They reserve their attacks for those who carry spiritual weight, for those who walk in fire, revelation, authority, and breakthrough. And that, unmistakably, is who you have become. You are no longer merely surviving. You are stepping boldly into the fullness of your God-given identity. You are not just believing, you are becoming. You are not simply speaking words of faith, you are actively living them out. And as a result, your very presence has become disruptive, not by intention, but by impact. Though you are not trying to be a threat, your obedience makes you one. You are not seeking conflict, yet your anointing naturally stirs resistance. The light you carry exposes what has long been hidden. Your clarity challenges and confronts confusion, and your spiritual frequency unsettles the strongholds that have comfortably taken root, whether in your family line, your environment, or even within the people around you. There will be people who suddenly find themselves disliking you without any clear explanation, and there will be doors that close, not because you have done anything wrong, but because the spirit within you unsettles the darkness operating behind those doors. Some invitations will vanish, not as a form of rejection, but as a divine act of protection. This is because in the direction you are headed, not everything and not everyone is meant to come with you. You are stepping into sacred divine territory, a realm where your words carry weight, where your prayers shift atmospheres, and where your spiritual authority unlocks generational blessings. This is not merely personal growth, it is spiritual elevation. The enemy fully understands that if you continue on the path you're walking, nothing will be able to stop what God intends to accomplish through you. That is why the warfare around you has intensified. It is why old temptations have resurfaced and why doubt now tries to speak louder than ever before. The enemy's strategy is clear. He wants to pull you down before you fully realize how far you've come and how high you've already risen. But turning back is no longer an option. You've come too far, sacrificed too much, and endured too long. Most importantly, heaven has already given its approval. God's hand is firmly upon you, and when his hand rests on you, no demonic force in existence has the power to remove it. This is the moment when you must remain guarded, not out of fear, but with unwavering focus. Stay rooted in prayer, remain obedient to God's voice, and keep yourself hidden in his presence until he instructs you to move. This is not a season to prove yourself to anyone. It is a season to stay aligned, stay grounded, and remain positioned for what God is preparing to release. Now you carry the mantle with quiet confidence and spiritual maturity. Heaven responds to identity, not insecurity, and the earth responds to alignment, not striving. When you fully embody your God-given purpose, that purpose begins to seek you out. This is why doors are now opening with ease, and why individuals who once overlooked or rejected you are now returning, drawn not by who you were, but by who you have become. And if you're still hungry for more chapters to this journey, or a visual concept for a video or thumbnail, just say the word. I'm here and ready to help bring it all to life. Thanks for watching. Here ends this video. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. If you find this video interesting,